back. It is a Money Monday indeed, right here on Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco, but it's a special Money Monday because it's Columbus Day, or also referred to these days as Indigenous Peoples Day, but I'm not recognizing that. We're going with Columbus. I'm celebrating my 50% Italian-American heritage, and one of the voices, or the One Voice, the Italian-American One Voice Coalition, Executive Board Member DiMino joins us today for a little Liquid Lunch. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, John.
And I've been playing a little ekabari to celebrate our heritage, which we have to. But what I want to talk to you about is, right here in New York City, they were trying to get rid of the Christopher Columbus statue, and now they had to change it to Indigenous Peoples Day. Why is it important that we keep traditions like Columbus Day alive?
Well, first off, Columbus Day is a great American holiday.
That's right.
Italian Americans happen to be caretakers right now, but Columbus really was like going to the moon back then. He made it possible for this whole part of the world to be discovered. So we should celebrate it because of the great country that we are. But on top of that, it was also a recognition of Italian Americans because of all the discrimination that occurred with Italian Americans in the 1890s and so forth. And that's why it's an important day now for Italian Americans. We're Americans first. My father taught me tremendous patriotism. He came here from Italy.
That's right.
But we're Americans first, but we honor and preserve our Italian heritage, and that's what we do on Columbus Day.
People don't talk about this ever. We have all these left-wing candidates talking about reparations because African Americans were enslaved at some point, which, I get that was a social norm then, and it was wrong. But I don't think people should get paid because, a century ago, they had different sets of social standards. But what people don't realize is as early as the 1900s, right here in New York City, if you were a contractor who wanted to get a contract with New York City, you had to stipulate that you would not hire Italians.
You're so right.
It was in the contract. Yeah. You want to get this plumbing job from the New York City government to build a school, you got to sign off and say, I will not hire Italians.
Yeah, no, there's many instances there. I mean, I know Frank mentioned it on Friday, but the largest single lynching that ever occurred in this country was in New Orleans, and the New Orleans mayor just apologized for that. So there was a lot of problems. You don't hear much about it. Italian Americans have been proud to assimilate into this country, and therefore we are proud Americans. But there was a lot of things that went on with Italian Americans, and we shouldn't take away the one day that we celebrate, especially when you talk about indigenous people. Hey, John. When Columbus got here, this was no Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
There was slavery, beheadings, cannibalism. It was horrible.
So, Andre, what do you say to non-Italians watching or non-Italian Americans watching about why it's important to them that Columbus Day still be remembered and celebrated as is and not converted to some sort of other holiday?
Well, number one, we shouldn't pit one ethnicity against another, especially since indigenous people already have August 9th and November. What you have here is a lie, a false set of facts being spouted about Columbus. If people check the accurate facts, the reputable sources, they'll see that all these atrocities they're putting on Columbus is just not true. It's a lie. And why is it important to us? Because just like I said before, we all wouldn't be here. This country, this part of the world would not be here if it wasn't for Columbus making that intrepid 4 voyages and opening up this part of the world. They say Leif Erikson came and said, well, he didn't stay here. He didn't create an opening to here, but that's what Columbus did.
And in terms of those atrocities that we've now heard so much about, that Columbus was enslaving people, that he was warring on indigenous people, that he was doing all sorts of terrible things, what specifically do we know about the atrocities that we've been told Columbus was responsible for that are inaccurate? Educate our viewers about
Certainly, when he got to this part of the world, of course, the people that were here didn't want to lose their land and so forth. So what they did was, Columbus was a man of his times. He had to fight the warring people. In fact, there's even a case where he helped one tribe fight another tribe that was a cannibalistic tribe. So therefore, you have to look at the actual facts. And if you do, you'll see that Columbus was not what they said he is.
And but in the 15th century, that was pretty standard.
That was the norm.
Came here and you conquered and you did your thing around the world.
That's right. Well, all over the place. And by the way, the indigenous people didn't sprout out of the ground. They came here as well.
Right, no doubt about it. So, as you may know, I'm half Italian,
I do
half
know
Irish.
That. Yes.
I do have the cool last name with the vowels, so everyone thinks I'm all Italian. I wear the pinstripe suits and stuff to really play it up.
No stereotype there, of course.
I am half Irish.
Yes.
And you have another interesting tidbit for us that You know, I say, well, I'm Italian and Irish. I get two holidays:
You
St.
do.
Patty's Day and Columbus Day. But tell us a little bit about St. Patrick.
Well, sure. We celebrate St. Patrick, too, because St. Patrick, after all, was Italian. He was from the Italian area. Of course, Italy's a young country, and he came over early on, but he was sent over there for religion. And so, therefore, we proudly join with the Irish in celebrating St.
So
Patrick's
can we
Day.
call it St. Pasquale Day?
You
from
betcha.
now on?
That's it. You got it. You got it.
Will that work?
Sure.
What are you guys doing over at the Italian American One Voice Coalition to keep the Italian heritage and things like Columbus Day alive?
Well, our organization is specifically dedicated to defending Italian heritage. You know, we're not a fraternal or a social organization. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're all volunteers, and all we do is dedicate ourselves to defending against Italian American discrimination and stereotyping, which is still so rampant all over the place.
Well, Andre, so here in New York, and it's become something of a nationwide story, there's a great deal of controversy surrounding the Mother Cabrini statue. So there was a contest in New York City to erect more statues of women, and Mother Cabrini got the most votes. But what happened?
She got the most votes. She got twice as many votes as the next person out of the 300 people that were selected. But they chose 7 other women. It was actually the mayor's wife that did that. And we're fighting it because Mother Cabrini was an important first American saint, an Italian American, sent here for immigrants. And we're pushing against it. And now Cuomo looks like he's agreeing with us.
Yeah, and even the mayor sounded like he was prepared to relent in his conversation with Chaz Palminteri on the radio on Friday.
That was after a lot of pressure
That's
from
for
our
sure.
organization
That's
and
for
from
sure.
Chaz Palminteri.
Why
That's for
don't
sure.
we have, you know, why don't we? I mean, I know, like most Italian American people, I know people, our nation of origin is Italy, hardworking, middle class, upper middle class. You know, you see generational movements and upward movements in society and stuff. But why don't we have a spokesperson? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if there's anything related to minorities, African Americans, they roll, you know, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson out there. Italians get killed in so many ways in our society. Every time there's a FBI indictment, you can count the amount of vowels they're going to be in there. Why don't we have someone?
Well, I think you said it. You know, Italian Americans have always been ambitious to work well and to succeed and so forth, and they're spending their time on that. And therefore, I don't think there was really the need to step up. But we have to do that now. We have to draw a line in the sand now, and that's what we're doing at the Italian American One Voice Coalition. And everybody else should object to this changing of Columbus Day and also object to all the stereotyping. When you see an Italian American on media, it's always either a mobster, a mafioso, or a bimbo buffoon, thanks to a show like Jersey Shore. And we've got to object to that, and that's what we do every day.
I'm thinking in my head, there's a great candidate out there. We could get him to be on.
Frankie.
We could get Frankie $5
Where could people go to
he's
learn
known
more
everywhere.
about the coalition and
Sure,
the
we'd
work
like-
that you're doing?
Love everybody to come to our website. It's our initials, IAOVC.org. IAOVC.org.
All right. Well, it has been a real pleasure having you, Andre. You got to come back next year.
I'd love to, Frankie. Thank you. John,
Let's
thank
go out
you.
with a little Campari.
Absolutely.
Next thing you guys, if some issue comes up, bring it to us. We want to help be part of the One Voice.
I appreciate that, John.
Anything we can do to highlight these issues, we will.
Thank you.
All right. Are we playing this song the whole show?
I'm
Or,
gonna
I
pretty
mean,
much
there's a lot of
play it.
good.
I'm probably going to play it the whole show.
Some Perry Como, no? Some
I
Tony
like
Bennett?
this one. Everybody knows this one.
Dean Martin? All right. Hopefully when we come back, it'll stop. But by then, it's a great song.
Quick break. Back at
Enough's
you with
enough.
Italian American Columbus Day Liquid Lunch.